please introduce yourself?
Lieutenant Colonel George N. Devoe, Niles Devoe.
Right.
Pleased to meet you.
Thank you for doing this with me.
Be happy to respond to your questions.
What years did you serve?
I went in December 7th, 1942, 1 year following Pearl Harbor. I served until June of 1945, and I got out, and then it was civilian for all those years, but then I was recalled in 1950. I was the first lieutenant at the time. I was recalled, and do you want to just go on and talk about it? Or what?
Oh yeah, you can talk about that.
I recalled, and I went to, let's see, I went to Texas first, in San Antonio, and then had a little reactivation of my duties, just to get situated, to physicals and all that. And let's see, I'm trying to, this is a long time ago, you know.
Yeah.
And see, I'm trying to think of, you should know, I didn't say anything about when trying to get this in form, but when I was recalled, when I enlisted, I went to radio school, which I had enlisted to be an aircraft engineer gunner in B-17s out right here, but I didn't get to do that. After basic training, I went to Salt Lake City. There, I went to San Antonio, Texas, and took some flying, and I remember dropping bombs. The first time I dropped bombs, and first bomb I dropped was a shack. That meant right ahead, you know.
Yeah.
But it was flying in a twin-engine plane, you know, at about 500 feet. It was like shooting fish in a barrel, you know. They had 500 feet outside circle, and then 4, 3, 2, 2 down in, and we had 2 cadets. Would fly, and one would take cameras. Take pictures of the impacts. So when the other bombardier was bombing, I'd take pictures of the bombs, and then when I bombed, he would take pictures of mine, and that was the first two like little kids. First were young, you know.
Yeah. And how old are you when you enlisted?
18.
18.
Yeah.
And you served in the Army Air Corps.
Army Air Corps. Yeah.
You're from
Schenectady, New York. Schenectady, just like it. You know, Schenectady.
All right.
It's in the middle upstate area, 6 miles from Albany, the capital of New York.
So, were you enlisted or did you draft?
Enlisted, yes.
And what rank were you for most of your experience?
Well, right after the war, for my first service, I went through cadets, and I was commissioned as a second lieutenant in 1944. Yeah, 1944, and I went through navigation school, bombardier school, and ran on field in Texas, and then was assigned to a crew we went to Tampa, Florida, for training before we went overseas. Actually flew in B-17s, and we had to take water survival where they had a B-17 in a lake. And bail out, would make west sun and get back and up in a wing.
Yeah.
The kid stuff, you know. Well, when I took water survival, and I didn't know how to swim. I hated swimming, but I ducked around. I made it through, but it was faker. But during the time, my aircraft commander was a gray-haired major, and he was taking it. He'd go along the side like that, and the instructor on the other said, "Funk that old gray-haired major." But he wound up being a brigadier. We had a good crew, and one day after a mission, he says, "Well, this is my last mission. I'm going to be the operations officer." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Well, who's going to be my pilot?" And he said, "John Orleski." And he said, "What do you think of that?" And I said, "As long as he can take the airplane off and land it safely, he'll do fine." And follow my PDI. That's a pilot's directional indicator. My tracking out gives him an indicator which way to turn. You know.
Yeah.
It's not a simple thing.
Yeah.
And he says, "Boy, you're hot stuff." I always felt I was hot stuff.
What parts of the world did you serve our country?
In World War II, of course, I flew 5 through 6. I was 18 years old, and near the end of the war, I flew 6 combat missions. And after the war was over, they took all of the armament and off the airplane and converted us to reconnaissance. And we photographed all of Europe, Italy, the Azores, down into North Africa. And I had a crew that I wasn't really happy with my pilot, and I wasn't really happy with my navigator. My co-pilot was my best friend. But after the war, we went into Liège, Belgium, and we were stationed there for all we flew photograph missions, photography missions from there, and then we were scheduled to transfer to move our station to Lechfeld, Germany, which is south of Augsburg.
Yeah. And
I was assigned to command a 25 vehicle convoy to drive over there. My crew was going to fly airlift, because the bomber didn't need a bomber to do that. And when I got over there, I waited, and my crew never arrived. And that was in early 1945.
That's the year you got out, didn't you?
No. Yeah, it was the year I got out, but it was early 1945. And the German mountain found the wreckage of the airplane. They went down and hit it 300 feet from the top of a 10,000-foot peak in the Bavarian Alps. And I had nightmares about them not coming back. I had thought that they may have been shot down by the Russians, because they were always doing that when we got over to their demarcation. They had control of it on the east of that, you know. We had control of it. But anytime any of our aircraft went over that, they would shoot at it. Russians, Ruskies, all those guys were bad. The ones that we saw were always big. I think they paraded all their big busters.
So how would you describe the country and people, like where you serve, like?
Okay. I dearly loved the English people and The countryside is beautiful, green, rain every day. Some rain every day, so the place was beautiful, you know. And from there I went to Belgium, and then to Lechfeld, Germany, as I said. Okay, and after we went down to Africa in Roberts Field, Liberia, where we photographed a lot of all of Liberia, which was a United States protectorate, still is. They use greenbacks for their currency. Let's see, after that, so stupid far back. Well, came back on the Tufts Vic. Oh, I should have told you this before. When I left New York, we went on the Queen Elizabeth. It has a super big ship.
Yeah.
And being that the German U-boats were around, we steered a zigzag course so they could not line up a torpedo on us, you know?
Yeah.
And it took 5.5 days from New York City to Glasgow. And when I come home after the war was over, it took 10.5 days from the port of Le Havre, France, to New York. And it was like a sticky cork in the water. The front end was under the water, and the back end was just like this. The North Atlantic is no piece of cake, I'll tell you. But 5.5 days. But you know, I couldn't swim. I was not afraid of being in the water as long as I was on a ship, you know. But the majority of the guys were tossing their cookies off the side because of the rough water. It didn't bother my stomach. It just I didn't watch them toss the cookies.
Did you understand why you were fighting?
Oh yes, I sure was. Yeah. When you saw Pearl Harbor on TV, heck, I mean, I thought about being around there from the time I saw those bombers, or those, what the hell, the Zeros dropping their bombs in Hawaii, you know. And I felt that I'd like to be a flight engineer because I had auto mechanic experience. But then the capability, when I was assigned to, went through radio school, I was assigned to Salt Lake City, replacement depot. That was to determine where I was going to go. And I reported every morning to see if I had an assignment. And finally I said, ask the sergeant, I said, when am I going to get an assignment? Well, it takes a little time. All the gunnery schools, I want to go to gunnery school. All the gunnery schools are closed. So I saw a sign, joining aviation cadets. So I said, I'll go do. I took a battery of tests, and I passed the battery test.
For you.
The most difficult thing was when I had flown 2 missions, I think it was, and I had decided after the first mission that I didn't want to fly with that pilot. I didn't think I didn't think he matched up to what he could figure out the crew, and crashed and lost my best friend. So I did the right thing, but I felt real bad about my best friend. You know, I mean, really, I named my first son after him. He was, absolutely beautiful. I said beautiful, nice guy, good looking, and we were the best of friends. And it's hard to lose a real friend, you know. But that happens in life.
Thank you for your time.